these lakes based on knowledge. I can see you also have some green accessories with you, and before you start, let's have a look at your presentation. And who knows the deepest lake in Latvia? What's the name of it? And how many meters deep is it? So, not always we know very precisely. And what is the largest lake in the Baltic states? Mr. Sprude, is it Ezers? No, I mean not in Latvia, but in the Baltic states. So, yes, you mentioned Papus, the Papus Lake. Yes, we all know it because it's a very popular fishing destination. So, you will talk about the knowledge-based management of lakes. Our association protects the Latvian lakes by providing information, which is a part of knowledge. Of course, we have very many lakes in Latvia. Already for 10 years, we are developing and maintaining the database. However, here you can see the appropriate number of our lakes in Latvia. The main problems related to the lakes, unlike with the rivers, that they accumulate different types of sediment, phosphor, and of course it all leaves impact on the ecology and the further development. There are different parameters, morphometric parameters, and depending on the size, on the exchange of water within the system, the type of the ground, and other parameters that are related to their current state and future prospects. And the same goes with the quality and the different categories of quality that we can apply to lakes. Of course, we may exploit the lakes, and we can manage the lakes. Of course, we all very well know what is meant by exploitation. And because we have still very fresh memories of the Soviet times, etc., unfortunately, sometimes exploitation takes place in Latvia. Of course, it takes a bold person, it takes a person who has wide contacts. However, if we talk about the management, what we need is knowledge, because, of course, when we talk about the exploitation, there are different types, of course, and they are usually such people who exploit the lakes. They try to get as much as possible by giving as little as possible. And of course, one of the main problems is the wastewater that is flooded into our lakes. However, here you can see the full list of different types of exploitation. So if you want to be more precise about these details, please approach me afterwards. When we talk about the management, we are talking about the use of lakes, trying to maintain the qualities of the lake as it is. When we talk about the improvements, of course, not always it is possible to improve the existing state of affairs in the lake, because if the quality is good, there are only very rare occasions in which you can make it very good. So if we have such a good quality lake, what we should be indulging is to maintain the quality, and if we have a lake which we can characterize as average or even poor quality, then of course our main target is to improve the quality too. And of course we should be very cautious when engaging in such activities, because in certain cases some radical measures are required, and sometimes if we are not very prudent, we may use our resources, but sometimes the results are not as good as we want them to be. Therefore, of course, knowledge is very important. So here I have listed the knowledge that is required. This is the list of essential knowledge that is required to manage the lakes. Here I have made quite an extensive list. Of course, they are not listed according to their priorities, and of course there are different degrees of sophistication. However, in order to understand the whole process of managing the lakes, this is what you should know. If we have a good quality lake, of course we don't have to improve the current state, and if we go through this list, of course I can expand upon each and every item on this list, but I will not go into details. I would probably what I should point out is the wastewaters and the phosphor waste that is accumulated at the bottom of the lake. These are very topical issues, and of course the wastewater is the main contributor of phosphor being flooded into the lakes. Another thing we should know, if we are engaged in the management of lake, we should understand the dynamics of the ecosystem as such. And here in this picture you can see that sometimes we cannot turn back to the previous situation. If we have a polluted lake, sometimes this means it is polluted forever, and by applying enormous effort we may improve it a little bit. However, we will not be able to manage it so as to improve the quality up to the level which we can call good quality. So we should focus on prevention, because sometimes afterwards there is very little we can do, and sometimes the local people they think, oh, I'm a very small contributor in terms of flooding the wastewater. But however, there are several such persons, and of course the common contribution is quite high. And here you can see the typology of our Latvian lakes that has been stipulated in our laws and regulations. However, I still would characterize it as quite general and not specific enough. Here we have 10 types of lakes. We have two general problems related to this typology, because sometimes they do not consider the pH levels, and this is why we sometimes confuse the different types of waters, and lakes can be confused. And secondly, there is an error in this typology, because they have been divided by average depth rather than according to stratification, because we should also distinguish between different levels of stratification, because stratification is actually the different layers of water based on chemical and physical different characteristics, and they also differ in terms of temperature and contents of phosphor. etc. And we have made different measuring regarding these different layers. And of course also the temperatures differ quite significantly between different layers. When we talk about